Hey y'all, welcome to Culture Cult. My name's Marie. I am the host of the show. And if you are a reoccurring listener, hell yeah, welcome back. And if you are new to the show, essentially this is a show where we are on a mission to all become less ignorant. And that is by learning about every country and culture in the world. I like doing this by highlighting crazy stories or amazing people from each country so we can learn about each other's cultures and just find more understanding with each other. So speaking of amazing people, today we are covering the natives of Aotearoa, or its colonized name, New Zealand. And we'll be covering the Maori, who you possibly have seen because of their influence in rugby and the haka dance. If you haven't seen haka, look it up on YouTube. It is incredibly intimidating and cool. They do it a lot in rugby. And so we'll be covering the Maori, and also we will be covering Whina Cooper, a leader who helped shape New Zealand's legislation around helping Maori people getting their land back. And she did this by marching 1,100 kilometers to the capital with thousands of other Maoris, and she did this at age 79. And I feel like in a time where we really need to act against the injustices of the world and keep protesting for places and keep giving voices to places such as Congo and Palestine, I hope this episode inspires you that action, protests, and pressures do work. So before we dive into Whina's story, let's get into some fun facts about the Maori in Aotearoa. And helping me today with telling the story is my best friend Danny of 17 years. So let's get into it. Okay, y'all. So we're talking about Aotearoa, which is how we're going to be calling the islands of New Zealand because we're learning about the natives today. So. Yay. And again, I'm learning all my pronunciations off YouTube. So if I mess it up, just roll with it. You
tried your hardest.
Okay, here we go. Your favorite question. What do you know about New Zealand / Aotearoa?
They are near Scotland. That was a joke. They're near Australia.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Okay. What are you imagining it looks like? What's the feel? What the color is coming to mind?
I think a lot of green and blue, like lots of tropical areas, but not like Hawaii or anything like that, but just lots of beaches and mountains and trees and grass.
Yeah, okay.
And people, birds. They've got birds.
Yeah, they have a lot of weird birds. Yeah. They're called kiwis because of their flightless bird population.
Oh,
and that's why if you meet a New Zealander, they call them kiwis. They call them after their national bird. Yeah. And then there's also like a alpine parrot that like terrorizes people's cars because they love rubber and it'll strip all the rubber off your car.
Oh my God. Okay.
So good on the bird one. They have birds.
And it can get really cold there too.
Oh, also good. Nice. Yeah, it does get chilly because they have literal glaciers. It actually is pretty cold because there's a lot of like Arctic areas. Yeah. But it's also like has beaches, but then it has cliffs and then it has like black sand and then it has volcanoes that are active. It has like every single kind of nature in like the span of 2 islands.
Is this going to be another Krakatoa episode?
No.
Disaster story?
Yeah.
Just tragic ones with fire.
No, this is actually a very inspiring story. I cried when I was researching it story. Also, celebrities that are from here. Peter Jackson, don't know him, but I think he's an author. Russell fucking Crowe. Keith Urban.
Really?
Yeah.
My neighbor.
And then Lorde, if you listen to her. There you go, guys.
Very
celebrities from there. Anyways, besides Russell Crowe, we're talking about the Maori people. And I love telling native stories because I love native people. I love their culture. And most of their histories oral, so I think it's important to like keep it going. So Aotearoa is the Maori name. So little facts. So you know how in the Western world we're all boring, and when we greet each other we like shake hands and it's so formal. If you meet a Maori person, you just go straight the fuck up on their face and you press your forehead and your nose. But essentially what they're saying is like you're supposed to like breathe in their breath and they breathe in your breath. It's the breath of life.
Better exfoliate.
That's how they greet each other in the Maori. They also are really big into the tradition of tattooing because again, like how they pass down their history is through oral, but also through their tattoos. No one has any identical tattoos. It's all incredibly individual.
Ooh,
and it tells your story. It tells your social status, tells your genealogy.
Very cool.
But sometimes it's not even just like tatted. It's carved into your skin.
Ooh.
Like the hardcore ones do that.
So it leaves like a scar instead of ink.
Yeah. So they have like designs on their chin and under their lips.
Very cool.
Yeah. So how they used to live was on something called like a paw. And it was essentially like on hills with terraces dug into the sides. And they had like really high fences, but they don't really live like that now. If you did want to see an example of that, there's a town called Rotorua and Gisborne where you can kind of get an idea of that. If you actually want to see how they actually live, you have to be invited though. You can't just walk up. It's called a Maire, and it's a meeting ground exclusively for the Maori. And you have to be invited because it's like, well, as we'll learn throughout the story, like their land was like completely stripped from them. Good on them to be like, no, you really can't just come. And then have you ever heard of haka?
No.
It is a dance. It can be a war dance, but it's not just a war dance. It's a celebratory dance. The rugby team, the New Zealand rugby team, the All Blacks, they do it before their games and it's super fucking intense. And I want you to watch it. I just really want you all to take a second and actually watch haka. If you're not driving and you have the ability to, or just remind yourself to, type in haka, Haka, All Blacks on YouTube. And it is so intense. Like it is so intense watching the All Blacks do haka in front of the other team. Like I feel like the other team, if I was on the other team, I would feel so dumb. I'd feel so intimidated. And you can feel the tensity of watching these two teams before they go into the match. And what I also love is that it's not all Maori people doing it on the All Blacks team. Like everyone is doing haka. And that's a thing I see in New Zealand's culture is that everyone's really into the Maori culture. So if you have a second, type in haka, Haka, All Blacks into YouTube and tell me that is not fucking intimidating. It made the Maori culture kind of known around the world because like rugby is very popular. And then they're just known for this like very intimidating dance. Like you can't help but get chills. Yes. I really recommend watching haka, Haka. I found out where it's from and like how it came about. And obviously it's an oral tradition. I have no idea if this happened, but quote, on early rendition of the haka was used by Chief Tinarau and the women in his tribe. He wanted revenge on a priest called Kai because Kai killed his pet whale.
Who would do that?
Right?
Why do people do that? That's so fucked up.
So Tinarau was like, oh, hell no, we're going to kill this dude. So he sent tribes of just women to hunt Kai down. But they didn't know much about him, but they did know that he had a crooked tooth. And so they were like, we got to find this guy with crooked teeth. So they go to the tribe. And upon arriving to their opposing tribe, they performed haka, that dance. And because they do a lot of like facial expressions and like tongue out.
Yeah.
And it made the men like laugh and smile. And then they found Kai because he had a crooked tooth.
Smart.
His last laugh. But yeah, going on to that, they have a really, really special connection with whales. And whales are my favorite animal.
I love whales.
Same. They have a really special connection with whales, and they have a lot of like stories and legends about them interacting, and they believe they're supernatural and sacred beings, which I 100% believe. They are the wise, like our grandfathers of the sea.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
But yeah, that's just a little bit of fun facts about the Maori. It's a pretty big story, so I don't want to go too into it, but I really recommend just like watching stuff on your own if you want to learn more about the Maori. They're very visual kind of people, so I would definitely watch documentaries.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. But okay, so to get into our story, we have to go through a little history lesson. Okay, we're gonna go through it. Let's do it. So, and it's important because we can't really tell the story. We can tell the story, but it won't really matter if you don't know the history behind the Maori.
Bring it on.
Before 1200, it was just a bunch of birds pretty much on the island. You said birds? There was like this really large ostrich looking thing that lived there until the ancestors, the Maori, arrived by canoe. They arrived from Polynesia and they pretty much killed all that. They killed all the birds.
Why? Just because they were taking over everything?
Because they're human and they want to make everything extinct. So not cool, ancient Maori. They killed the fucking famous ostrich. Anyways, so besides that, like for like a couple, maybe 300 years, they're chilling. No one knows they exist in the world.
Oh, nice.
I mean, New Zealand is really remote. It's the largest remote landmass in the world. The closest place is Australia, and it's a 4-hour plane ride. So not close. Okay. They are chilling until 1642. A Dutch guy found his way over there. His name's Abel Tasman. And he was like, oh, I'm going to map this out. I want to come back here, maps it. And it is now appearing around Europe on a Dutch map, and it's called New Zealand because there's a province in Holland called Zeeland. He started making recordings of it. Everyone's like, what is this place? They're like, we got to go. Jump ahead another 100 years. They're probably like, okay, we saw that Dutch guy a while ago. I think we're fine. Well, 1769, very famous Captain James Cook. If you remember him from the Polynesia episode, he finds New Zealand. He finds Aotearoa.
I feel like the pronunciation has changed.
I know.
12 times.
I'm not going to lie. I'm so nervous about the pronunciation. Can we just come up with a nickname right now?
A-Town.
Oh, love it. Okay. That is so much easier. Okay. I'm just getting too nervous about like being a fuck up and pissing people off. So A-Town, we all agree it's called A-Town. All right. James Cook finds A-Town around 1769. Then the more of the word spreads. Then the fucking like party poopers of every history lesson, the British missionaries find it and they're like, you need to believe in God and not just any God, our God.
That was the British one. Excuse me, if I may, let me just you need to hear something, if you will.
The Lord. We will kill you. That's pretty much what happened. Then jump to 1830. Now it's really out. Now over 1,000 European ships are coming to A-Town each year. And they're not cool people. They're fucking whalers. They're sealers. They just kill. They don't respect the land. They're drunks. They bring prostitution. It's like suddenly A-Town is looking like the strip of Nashville. It's just like dirty and just like party and not the vibe. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're killing the whales. So
that's so fucked.
Yeah. And so now the Maori are like, yo, okay, Britain, if you're going to fucking be here, get your shit together. Like handle your people. If you're going to come into our land, at least manage them. And so they were like, okay, well, we'll write a little document, write a little Declaration of Independence. And in this independence, you can still keep your land and we'll just trade and we will just kind of recognize you as a nation. And they were like, okay, that sounds okay. But then they didn't really abide by anything. If they're like, we need another document, we need another treaty, and one involving you keeping your people in line. And also we establish trade and you get to keep our land. Well, if you're from A-Town, if you're from New Zealand, you will very much know this document. It's called the Treaty of Waitangi. Highly controversial, super fucked up document. It's still controversial to this day. Essentially, there's 2 versions of this document. And one was the English document. And there's 9 copies of the Maori version, and there's only 1 copy in English. 500 Maoris signed the Maori version. Only 39 signed the English because they were like, we don't like this version. And essentially, the Maori version stated what they said, we'll trade with you. We get to keep our lands, handle your people. English version said, you cede all your lands to the crowd. We now own you. You are now British subjects.
What?
Because the translation, some of the words didn't translate. So they don't have words like governance or sovereignty or cede. So they just like took advantage of the fact that like the languages don't really connect. And so a lot of those like 39 people that signed the English one were like probably like, oh, this sounds good. But they didn't understand the words and the weight of the words.
Yeah.
So after that day, they are now British citizens. They do not own their land. They are about to lose everything. And it's called the Treaty of Waitangi, Waitangi. I really would watch something on it because I just did the most basic version. And then after that, just gets kind of sad. There's like something called the New Zealand Wars. I also recommend that is a really good YouTube documentary. If you can get through it, it's really sad, but it's land wars, pretty much just British people fucking everyone over. Yeah. And this is a really sad fact. So in 1840, when that treaty was signed, they had 100% of their land. Now, by 1920, they only had 8%.
Oh my God.
So I really wanted that to sink in before we start our story.
Okay.
So we just need to like get angry.
I'm pissed.
Maori, we're fucking pissed. Okay. So today we're covering another bad bitch. We're covering Dame Whina Cooper.
Ooh, Fina. I like that name.
Yeah, it's short for Josephina.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. It's really good. And so I'm going to say my sources real quick. RE:news, really good little YouTube channel, natlib.gov, Teara, TEARA.gov, nzhistory.gov, encyclopedia.com, Wikipedia, always.
Wikipedia.
And then Fina. She literally has a movie on YouTube that's free. I
That's
love
nice.
a good movie that I can watch so I can understand the emotion more.
Yeah.
Really good. I cried.
What's it called?
WHINA. And it's free. It's on YouTube.
How do you say it?
It's Fina. I had to look that up because I was like,
WH?
Yeah, WHINA. And
Okay.
our story starts in 1975. And just imagine there's 50 people standing together at the beginning of a road. And at the front of this is a 79-year-old woman leading them. And they plan to march from a town called Te Hapua, which is on the very North Island. And they plan to march as a group all the way down to Wellington. That's about 1,000 kilometers, which is 680 miles.
Ooh.
Which is like, I kind of looked it up. It's like New York to like Kentucky.
Oh my God.
And so they're going to march from the top of the island to the bottom. And at the beginning of this march is the 79-year-old woman who is known as the mother of the land. Her name is Dame Whina Cooper. And why are they marching? They are marching to meet the Prime Minister Bill Rowling in Parliament with a message and with a petition signed by 60,000 people. So
nice.
Like, you ain't gonna fuck with us. We coming to you.
We'll come to you.
So why is this 79-year-old woman, like, why is she marching with these people 700 miles away? Mm-hmm. Well, we need to start back. Rewind. We're going to start back when she was born. So Whina Cooper was born Hofini Tiwaki and goes by Fina. And because her Christian name is Josephine. She was born where the march actually starts. And she was born into the tribe Te Rarawai Iwi. Iwi means tribe. She was born on December 9th. So she's a Sagittarius. I looked that up.
Yes. Sagittarius queen.
She was a daughter of a community leader and a Catholic missionary. And it's a weird kind of time where like they're still kind of on Maori land, but there's still a lot of Europeans there. So they're like integrating. So they have like probably 8% of their land left actually. So they're definitely integrating force too. But overall, like people are getting along in their towns. And so she grew up pretty Christian and she grew up with European housing, customs, utensils, but she was still in touch with her Maori heritage because she still like did fishing and hunting and stuff like that. And they got all their food off the land still. The only thing is when I talk about that integration, like around this time, Maori children were not allowed to speak their language, especially in school. They were only allowed to speak English only. And you were severely punished if you spoke the Maori language.
You hear about the stories of the Native Americans here, like even up into way later, they were still doing that.
If you take someone's language, like you're taking everything because the next generation won't get to communicate and that's how you start to lose everything is you need the language. Yeah. I mean, that's a smart like tactic if you want to fuck up a culture, but it's really sad. And I'm sure if you talk to anyone who is Maori, they might remember recently growing up to that, you know, to not being able to speak Maori. So, but she was always attracted to politics as a child. In her obituary, the British newspaper, The Independent, wrote, she defied convention and Maori tradition from an early age, eschewing games with other children to listen to tribal leaders and debate ownership of their land. So like, even as a child, she was like, we need our land back. This is not okay. We need to speak our language.
Good for her.
Mm-hmm.
Sagittarius.
And her dad recognized her keen intellect and leadership skills and actually favored her over his sons.
Good.
I know, but it caused a lot of rift and drama between her and her siblings because they were all like, this doesn't happen, you know? Like, yeah. And I just think that's kind of crazy and kind of rare in history that the father not just listens to his daughter, but then like thinks she's better than his own son.
That's true. You don't hear about that.
But not everyone was okay with her intellect and her outspokenness on politics. So the Maori culture, they lived in, again, PAs, or that's what they called PA, and very community based. Everything is decided together. That's why they have that building called the Maire that I told you have to have an invite to get to.
Yeah.
Everything is decided together as a community. So they are all up in your business, by the way. And they did not like that she was a woman speaking about politics, speaking about real issues in the Maire public space of the community. But she was always rebellious. And by 1916, she was working in a local co-op store and then she falls in love.
And now the story begins.
She meets a man named Richard Gilbert and they just fall head over heels. And her family was kind of bummed about this because they already had an arranged marriage set up for her. But she was like, fuck no. And they were like, okay. Like,
okay. That was easy.
So Richard Gilbert, that's her man. And on May 10th, 1917, she eloped and married Richard, but only her family consented. Again, it's a community. The Iwi, her tribe, was not okay with this. They were not okay with the fact that she married him. I don't know if it was because she married without their consent as a community.
Yeah. Interesting.
And she just took things into her own hands. I don't know, but they were fucking pissed. And they actually exiled them from the community. They forced them to go live somewhere else.
Oh my God. What did her parents say?
They're probably like, the community says so. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really sad.
When you live in a community, there's a lot of pros, but I think one of the cons is the fact that the community decides things together, even your fucking personal life. But someone took pity for them. It was their priest that married them, actually. He advanced them a loan to let them buy Whina's father's house and to buy the general store back in their hometown. So, like, I guess they just bought their way back into the community.
Yeah.
And then now everyone has to, like, go buy their milk at their place.
That's what you get.
Can't avoid me. So, yeah, she's got her man. She's got her general store. She's back in the community, I guess. Everything's kind of going good. She's a businesswoman. She's a community leader. She has 2 children at this point. She's also a coach of a rugby team.
Pretty badass.
Because she, remember like how she wasn't allowed to like talk in like community spaces? She was like, okay, well, I'll go build my own. So she built an entirely new community center just for women. Not just for women, but where women could talk.
I love that.
I know. So, yeah, things are going good for her at this point. Now, I'm just going off this part, just off the YouTube movie. I can't say this is completely accurate, but at this point in the movie that her husband, Richard, seems to start feeling a little bit strained in their marriage because she's such a strong female character and it's challenging his ego and his masculinity. And she's very much taking charge in the community. Like everyone knows her. And they also had different ideas on what they should do with the Maori situation. Like, I feel like she was like, we need to address this. We need to get ahead of this. And he's probably like, yeah, it's happening.
Yeah.
As an activist, I feel like you can't be with someone who's also not an activist.
Right.
So Whina discovered that her sister, Hera Tuti, had become romantically involved with her husband. Her fucking sister and her husband were having an affair.
That's disgusting.
And they live in a small town, too.
No. That's disgusting. God. What sister would want to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he slept with another person is disgusting. And then it ends up being her sister. There's something very wrong with the sister and the husband.
I would literally drag them and put in a car, and then I would drop them off in the middle of nowhere and be like, fucking have a good time. I don't actually know what I do. That's so stressful. She's dealing with this. On top of this, Richard is now starting to get sick and she has to take care of his ass. He's coughing up blood.
Why? I'm sorry. Why does she have to take care of him? Why?
Yeah. No, where's the sister?
He didn't uphold his vows. Little Miss Pris can take care of him.
Yeah. So, well, she does start taking care of him because he's getting really sick. He's coughing blood. He's getting weaker and weaker. And it's because he has cancer.
No, cancer doesn't erase all the bullshit that you do. He was still a piece of shit.
Yeah. But she took care of him, I guess. But at this time, she also is running a national program that's making sure farming land is going towards the Maori. And then she meets another activist. She meets a man named Whina Cooper, who really challenged her. She caught his intrigue. He caught her intrigue. And he was also a fellow Maori politician. And they were like,
Ooh.
They're like,
okay, someone more on her level.
Yeah, maybe we should fall in love. So Richard died. And this was a complicated time because she was taking care of her cheating, dying husband. But she also at the same time was falling in love with Whina Cooper. And she was actually 7 months pregnant when Richard died. She did cheat, but he also cheated first.
Yeah, maybe by that time they had some type of like arrangement.
Yeah, he's like dying. And she's like, hey, I'm going to go out. There.
Hey, remember that you fucked my sister? Yeah, I've got a date tonight.
So you good?
Oh, you good? You good? Got a little okay. I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, so she was 7 months pregnant with Cooper's child, and after Richard died, she moved in with Cooper. But this is now another time her tribe was like, "Get out!" They kicked her out again, and
I would just be like, "All right, bye."
Yeah, no, but like, okay, I leave. No more rugby team. No more community center.
No more milk.
Milk.
What are you gonna do without your milk?
Like, how about you sort yourself up, get out of my business? Okay. My husband was cheating with my sister. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure once she left, they realized how much of an effect she had on their community. So she left Pingaroo for 7 years. That's her home, and set up a home with Cooper outside of Whangarei. And they had 2 children and they were married in the church. And 7 years later, they did actually return back to their community. And she did feel a calling to go back and protect their land. And so that must have been a hard decision, because think about, like, these people have kicked you out multiple times, but you want to take care of them, and they can't take care of themselves.
Yeah, she's still loyal.
Even though they're not. So she goes back and protects the land and to help the community. But unfortunately, in 1949, William died too.
Oh.
I know, that was her rock. That was her husband. That was her activist husband. So this is fucking devastating. She's now a single mom with like 4 or 5 kids. Maori land is being taken day by day. She doesn't really like know where to be, where she should go. But she was like, okay, let me just move to Auckland. It's a big city with lots of opportunity.
Okay.
So she gets there and she's like, oh shit, this is more of a shit show than I thought it was. Because kind of just like any minority communities, like in our country, like they weren't given any opportunities for growth or for moving up in the world. They have no opportunity, they make less money, they have no houses, they have no jobs. And this is really hard for her. She has like fucking like 5 kids.
Yeah.
She's broke and doesn't know how to move up. There's lots and lots and lots of slums in the area filled with Maori people, which is so frustrating because like this is their land.
Yeah.
They don't need to be in slums. This is their land. But she did become friends with a bishop named James Liston, who was racist before. He was just like, I don't like Maori people. I don't get them. I don't want to be associated with them. I don't trust them. But they actually became friends, and he was completely influenced by her and changed his mind about how he felt about her people. And he committed to offering a special Catholic ministry to urban Maoris. So he opened the doors to a lot of Maoris.
Oh,
I know.
That's so nice. Yay.
I know. And then it became one of the new areas that she just really started investing all of her time and energy. So by 1951, she was elected first president of the new Maori Women's Welfare League. And this became the first Maori organization to speak it with a national voice against racial and legal discrimination, health, and childcare.
Hell yeah. That's right, Whina.
So 1957, she steps down. In the movie, like the people of the organization asked her to step down because she was so busy. I don't know. But 1957, she steps down, and the annual conference rewarded her with the title Mother of the Nation. So during 1960s, she worked at a local level in Auckland, but she just really didn't like stay in the national spotlight. She was just doing her thing. 1974, she's old and she's frail and she's dealing with a lot of arthritis. And by this time, though, the actual British government had given her like a rank of commander.
Seriously?
Yeah, but their fight didn't stop there, because every day Maori were losing more and more and more land to the British. And around 1920, they only had 8% left of their land. In 1975, they only had 3 million acres left. If you're ever thinking of like, what's the big deal? Like, what's the big deal with colonization? How I see it is, imagine you have your house, okay? And then someone knocks on your door and they're like, hey, you don't live here anymore. They kill your fucking dog. They kill all your animals. They take your food sources away. They destroy your garden. And then they push you into a closet and you're like, you live here now. You can exit when I usually say you also have to pay to live here. That's what's happening to Palestine as we speak. And if you start to get feelings of like, oh, well, this is fucked up, this is happening today with Palestine.
This still happens.
It still happens. And we can do something about it. And that's why I really want to put this in perspective of how the Maori are feeling. Because it's like, put that in perspective of your home, what that would feel like if someone comes in, kills all your animals, takes your food away, and sticks you in a closet and makes you pay for that closet. So that's what's happening with the Maori. It's 1975. They're fucking fed up. Like, it's been 100 years of just hell. And so 1975, Whina attended a Maori meeting where she was facing young people, and the young people were still talking about the issues that she was talking about when she was their age.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, this has to stop. She was like, all right, we need to organize. That's really what the Maori tried to do 100 years ago, but they were against the British fucking army. Like,
yeah,
we need to organize. So that leads us right back to the beginning of the story. September 14th, 1975, Whina and 50 other people are standing at the top of the North Island, preparing to walk and march all the way to the south and demand their land back from the prime minister. And she is joined by her 3-year-old granddaughter. And so they do this beautiful walk where there's like every generation, and she's like at the head of the walk.
Stop it. I'm covered in chill bumps.
And she's the head of the walk, and they have so much respect for her because she's just already done so much for the country. Now she's leading this walk. So, but they got 700 miles to cover, and they walk as a group. And guys, remember, she's 79. She has arthritis. I don't even know what arthritis feels like, but I don't think you're supposed to be walking 700 miles. The march would actually only take 30 days. It's kind of short. I'm like, are they running? or
is that nonstop, like without sleeping?
They stop and rest at night. And some of the elder people take cars and they meet them at points.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Okay. So they're not like making everyone walk.
Okay, good.
But it's kind of like the Forrest Gump effect. As they're walking, more and more people join, and not just Maori, New Zealanders are joining.
Oh, stop it. Yeah. That's so sweet.
And their group went from 50 to 5,000 people. People are literally just leaving their houses and joining. And it's not just Maori. And what I love is at the end of the night, they have like little campfires and they all sit and tell like their oral history stories and just stuff that's being passed down, you know? And art also has 60,000 signatures for people who can't join the march.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's a big movement. And it just started with 50 people and her.
Yeah.
So their phrase is not one more acre. They demand the acknowledgement of the property rights under the Treaty of Waitangi, which we talked about, where the English totally just misled them. So 5,000 people, 60,000 signatures. The march reaches Wellington on October 13th, 1975. A memorial rights signed by 60,000 people was prepared and presented to the Prime Minister, asking that all statutes that could alienate land be repealed and the remaining tribal land be invested in Maori in perpetuity.
Ooh. And what?
Perpetuity.
And what? Perpetuity?
And he's just like, yeah, sure. But overall, the march showed that the Maori were finally able to stand up for themselves. It just gives like a national voice. And then you see 5,000 people walk in your neighborhood with signs. It's going to put it in effect, you know? So they established the Waitangi Act in 1975 to investigate the breaches of the treaty. And it was just a massive cultural awakening for New Zealanders. They said it did start a conversation between the Maori and the British Crown. They did start handing out reparations, and one of the iwis got $170 million, which is great. But I'm also like, I think they wanted their land back. I mean, money's great. Their catchphrase is not one more acre.
Yeah.
Also, just to put in perspective, like, I want you to guess how much King Charles' coronation was.
16 million.
So 170 million went to the iwi tribe. They spent on one day in England on King Charles $125 million. So they have money.
How?
Is it just fireworks? Like, what are y'all doing? That's so expensive.
That's a great question.
But also, like, that's also money that was being taken out of British people's paychecks.
I hope they all got to go. Was it an open bar? Did they serve dinner? Where did that money go?
Who is the DJ? Okay.
Yeah.
That's just a lot of money they can throw on a day, which it is, yes, their coronation of the king, blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's just not money that they want. They want the fucking land back.
Yeah.
And so other chain of events this is a huge one. The Maori Language Act of 1987, where the Maori language is now the official language of New Zealand.
Yes.
And they can now speak Maori in the legal proceedings. And it's also taught in mainstream schools now. And like, I was watching videos, and schools are so into the Maori culture. Everyone has a haka dance. The whole school will do a haka dance outside their school, and they do like competitions with each other.
I love that.
And then like little New Zealand kids like speak Maori to each other, like to the Maori kids.
Yes. That's so cute. Good.
So it's still like an ongoing process, but the 1970 march undoubtedly sparked a massive fire. And I know a lot of Indigenous groups look at this march as oh shit, like this is what happens when you organize. You know, this is
like something can be done.
Yes. They also got an apology from the crown, which again, like that's not what they wanted. They just want their land. But
that's something.
It's something. And so Whina lived out the rest of her life in Panguru, the community that she originally grew up in, the one that kept kicking her out, but she was like, I'm still gonna come back. And she died March 26, 1994, among her loved ones at the age of 98.
A queen.
A queen. A dame.
A queen. A Maori dame.
And that's her story. And I really recommend watching her movie on YouTube. Again, it's WHINA. And I fucking cried. I don't cry a lot in movies, but that one got me.
Such a trailblazer.
Yeah. No, she is. And I think New Zealand, the Maori, they're growing their culture. Like it's on a rise. They're coming back and they're making sure that it's understood this is Maori's land. I think they're like a massive example of we can't reverse what the fuck these people did back in the 1600s. But like we have to make sure their cultures are not erased. You know, I interviewed this woman from Alaska on the season. One of my favorite episodes. I told you about her, Ashley. She says in Alaska, they are very connected with the natives and like, everyone speaks their language together. They all know each tribe's individual tribe names and they're super connected. And they're like in the lower 48, y'all aren't. But I think, the Maori or in Whina is a great example for a lot of other communities on like what you can actually do.
Yeah. So. I love that.
Yeah.
What a boss ass bitch.
What is your favorite thing you learned today or from Whina's story?
I just love the march. I think that that's so beautiful. And that like she never gave up. She kept pushing on through every obstacle that she had. She never even like got outside help. Like she still did all these things. Even when her husband slept with her sister, like she still raised those kids. And then when the next husband died, like she still did all that. And the fact that she was even big enough to take care of her cheating husband.
Right?
Needed her. Yeah. I would have left him to die.
Where's the sister at? I want to talk to her.
What's her last name?
I'm not going to get over that. It seems like she got over it, but we're not.
She's bigger than us. Yeah.
But yeah, that's Whina. And I hope y'all learn more about the Maori because they're super interesting.
Y'all need to go look up that dance.
Haka, for sure.
Yeah. Absolute bare minimum. Go look up that dance.
Yeah. It's so powerful because like everyone's fully in it. And it's not one of those dances like you can half-ass. You can't.
No. It's so sharp and specific with like the facial expressions.
Yeah. But also like the people on the rugby team, not all of them are Maori.
But they were all doing it.
Anyone can do it as long as you respect it. I think that's how we can share culture is by actually being a part of someone else's culture. And some people might be like, that's cultural appropriation. I have a strong opinion that as long as you're being respectful, it just means you're interested.
Yeah.
But okay, what do you have to say to our New Zealand listeners out there before we close up?
I would love to learn even more about your culture. If you would share it with us, we'd love to hear it and share it with everybody else too.
Yes, I agree. And so the Instagram is at culturecultshow or culturecultshow@gmail.com. Send in your own Haka dance.
Oh my God, please. I would love that. Send in your dance. Send in how to actually say.
Yeah. A-Town.
Yeah. Please. Please let us know.
And that is the end of today's episode. I hope this really inspires anyone who is currently protesting for Palestine and Congo. And I hope this episode just really shows that action works. And I really think looking to New Zealand and the Maori people are a great example of showing that you can try to reverse the evils that have been done to your country. And hopefully this episode has inspired you to keep being brave, to keep pressuring, to keep fighting, and that we can make the world better. And I mean, just look at Whina. Whina spent her whole life working for communities of Auckland and protesting till the end. And she really got more recognition for the Maori people and for their rights to their land. So mad respect for Whina. And I know a lot of people in Aotearoa or New Zealand know about Whina because of her actions. So if you are Maori and I have missed on something you want me to share in your culture, or maybe I missed a good story or some really cool features and facts about your culture, I would love for you to come on to talk about your culture and share it with my audience. That would make my freaking day. So if you are Maori and you want to share your culture and come on to the show or just write to me about your culture, you can email me at culturecultshow@gmail.com or the Instagram is at culturecultshow. And thanks again for listening, guys. If you have ever shared this podcast with a friend or left an Apple review, you get 1,000 million cool points from me because just those simple little actions seriously help this podcast grow and help other people learn about the world. So hell yeah, y'all are the best. Y'all are the MVPs for anyone who has ever shared the podcast or left a review. But yeah, that's it for today's episode and cheers till next time, y'all.